We certainly do. Let's go ahead and call to order the meeting. It's now 5:01 p.m.
Great. So tonight is a special meeting, and our intention is for us to interview candidates for the vacant commissioner position number 1. Unfortunately, Jonathan contacted me just prior to the meeting. He had an emergency with his family and he is not going to be able to attend. He said if he was able to get away, he will jump in late, but asked us to proceed without him and sent his apologies. So unfortunately, he won't be able to join us. But we do have Robert Agarsano and Danny Scott with us tonight. So are excited to learn more about the two of you. And the format for tonight, the commissioners all submitted questions and we prioritized those. We gave everybody their first choice. And so we have a list of questions for you. We will alternate back and forth between Robert and Danny, getting an opportunity to go first for each question, kind of like you would do a debate. And we ask that you limit your responses to each question to no more than 3 minutes. And 3 minutes can be a long time, so if you don't use it all, it's okay. And if we get through the 4 pre-prepared questions that we have, we will open it up for additional questions. We have a hard stop at 5:45 to allow for the board to convene a 15-minute executive session prior to, or actually, sorry, a 10-minute executive session prior to our next board meeting with a 5-minute break in between. So are there any questions about the format for tonight?
Not for me.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you. And Jen, for the purposes of the minutes, you can note that Commissioner Haugley, Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Herron, and Commissioner Bowers are all present. And then if Jen's got her little hand up, can you see her little hand in her square there? When you see her hand raised in her box, that means you have 30 seconds left of your 3-minute time. So she's kind of trying to keep you on track. And I gave her permission to mute you if you go over your 3 minutes. So be courteous. All right, Kevin, are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
All right, Mr. Hauser, any last instructions?
No, sounds good.
Okay. All right, so for our first question, we'll start with Robert. Robert and Danny, you'll be getting the same question, just going after Robert. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to be on the hospital board?
Sure, let me, okay, I'm unmuted here. A little bit about myself. Well, I've been in the high-tech industry. I spent 37 years in the high-tech industry, retired from that in 2004. And started pursuing interest to give back to the community. And I've spent all of that time really doing things like the fire department. I was a firefighter, a volunteer firefighter for 36 years and still am. I stepped that up at that point in time and became a medical evaluator for the state of Washington. So one of the things I do at the fire department is I do the medical certification of the firefighters to keep their credentials up and going. I also service the community in a variety of different ways in the Snoqualmie Valley. I was one of the lead people against COVID, or actually taking actions to limit COVID in the Valley. And I became involved in an organization where we put together strategies for the state of Washington to help save some of the people in the nursing facilities and nursing homes. So I was the lead trainer and instructor there, and one of the key people in the organization to go out and do testing in nursing homes when nobody would do that. So we could figure out, how COVID was getting into the nursing facilities. And then we received a contract from the Department of Health to go in and do vaccinations to the nursing home facilities. And we also put together a strategy to keep people safe in the fishing industry. So we had an isolation strategy that allowed people to go out and fishing ships and processing ships and make sure they were free of COVID. In addition to that, one of the things I did is got involved in the hospital at Snoqualmie, Issaquah, Swedish hospital. I started working in the ER so I could expand my knowledge on the medical side. And for, I guess, almost 12 years now, I've been doing that. And the last 3 years, I've been also working in the cardiac unit. So that's kind of my personal interest. I'm a strong believer in giving back and constantly learning. So I'm not one to sit still. I start my day at 3 o'clock in the morning and I, hit it hard and I go all day long. And that makes me happy. I get a lot of joy and pleasure in doing that. So as far as the hospital goes, to me, I see this as an extension. I've been doing advocacy for the hospital for many years at the fire department. And I'm thankful to say that we are at a point now where all of our firefighters transport all patients to Snoqualmie Valley Hospital so we can get turned around quickly and get back in service to service the community. I've also worked quite a bit with Eastside Fire and Rescue in North Bend to get them to understand that philosophy. And I think we've been pretty successful in doing that. So I'm a big advocate for the hospital system. I think I'm out of time.
Yes, thank you, Robert.
Yep, we got a lot in there. All right, Danny, same question for you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the hospital board.
Well, thanks for having me. A little bit about myself. I came up in quite a various number of industries. It was tech, and then I moved into development, working with contractors, and that was in the San Diego area. And so skill set was there, but when I found an opportunity to engage in healthcare, I jumped on it and moved my family all the way up to Washington State to start a career that felt like I was really doing something positive, doing something great for my community. It's been a huge, important aspect to live within the district that so that I was serving my friends and family in the work that I was doing. Did you get me there? It looked like I froze.
You are froze, but we can still hear you. Oh, there you're
Sweet.
back.
Okay.
You're back.
I'll
You're
keep
good.
it running. So getting it in, taking that skills, working with facilities and buildings and learning healthcare was a massive climb, but was handed a set of keys and said, good luck. And so I took those and ran with it. So it was a lot of fun to learn. I love healthcare in that I'm taking a skill set that I've learned over time and making a real difference for my community and my family. So that's why I love supporting healthcare. I've always worked in public hospital districts and critical access hospitals, so I really have a deep set knowledge of what we do, and that's why I want to be a part of our commissioners as we move forward as a board. It'd be an opportunity to lean in from a different perspective. I believe I have some knowledge that isn't really living with anybody else on the board, and I feel like I can give a lot to this board. That's what I have.
Great. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
All right. So Danny, you get to go first on the next question.
Sweet.
All right. So for your next question, which of your skill sets and the area of expertise are a specific value for the future growth of Snoqualmie Valley Health? And if you could share an example of how those skill sets could benefit the Snoqualmie Valley Health District, we would appreciate that.
Sure. I'm going to go right back to that unique bit of knowledge that I've acquired working for the district. I recently departed. It was really bittersweet, but I recently departed from this district. I love the direction that the hospital district's moving. I really understand the organizational knowledge, the strategic plan initiatives, understand operationally how we do what we do. But moving myself into a governance role would be a really positive aspect to help provide insight and guidance and just unique opportunities to guide the board with some information or just really an understanding of how the organization operates. I think it would be a really positive opportunity to lean into the way that we support some different aspects of our community. I represented our EVS team as one of their leaders, and when we have entry-level roles that can't find housing and can't move into the district to support the great work that we do, and it's a department that we need so deeply. I have those unique experiences that I can help guide where we're going as a district to hopefully bring that type of talent into our district and not have to pull from outside.
Great, thank you, Danny. All right, Robert, same question for you. Which of your skill sets are of specific value for the future growth of Snoqualmie Valley Health, and can you provide an example?
Oh, muted, Robert. There you go.
One of my strengths is that in business, I've worked in organizations where I've been used to turn around things that are failing, businesses that are failing, divisions that are failing. An example of that would be MSNBC. When I was at Microsoft, after the merger and the creation of MSNBC between Microsoft and NBC, it was failing miserably. And so I was given the task of going in there and turning that organization around and making it something of value and profitable. So I have a strong financial background. I have the ability to quickly identify issues, isolate those issues, and put together resolutions and fix things. And that's one of the things that I'm known for in business, and I feel really comfortable doing. I have 16 years of experience running a public fire district. So I was the chair of commissioners for a Kittitas County District 8. And we followed the same guidelines and the same restrictions and obligations that we have at the hospital, being a public entity at the hospital. The disclosure restrictions, the reporting from an accounting standpoint, and so forth. But my financial background goes deeper than that, in that I also took two companies public, one on the Toronto Stock Exchange and one in the US. And so I have a deep understanding of the need to do reporting, not only to the government and different agencies, but also be accountable to shareholders, the stakeholders in the organization. And so as the CEO of that company, chief executive officer and chair of the board, I had to report on a quarterly basis to the shareholders and show them where we were being responsible with their money and providing value. And so I'm very familiar with that concept. And I think that's one of the strengths I can bring to the board here at the hospital is we're dealing with the public on a regular basis. I'm dealing with the public on a daily basis that are people that use the facility in the hospital. And I can be an advocate for that and an ambassador for the hospital. And that's something I feel very comfortable doing.
Great, thank you, Robert. All right, Robert, you get first up with the next question. Our next question is, as a public hospital district commissioner, fiduciary responsibilities include duties of care, loyalty, transparency, and ethical stewardship. How do you approach upholding these responsibilities, and how would they guide your decision-making on behalf of the district and the community?
Well, in addition to what I just mentioned, I think I take that responsibility very seriously. Whether it's a public company or a private company, whenever you have stakeholders in it, and in this case, our stakeholders are the public, we have a strong obligation to be transparent, to, like these meetings, having public meetings where anybody can connect in and see what's going on. I don't believe in keeping things private to the point where people have to file public records requests to figure out what's going on. I think when that happens, we've failed as an organization. I think we should be so transparent that when people walk away, there's no question as to what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the benefit is going to be to the stakeholders, and in this case, the public that we serve in the Valley. So I feel a strong obligation to that. I've always kept up on public disclosure and public operating requirements for a district. Here again, we have certain requirements to the state sets up, as well as the hospital associations and so forth set up. We also have accounting principles that we have to adhere to, and I'm very cognizant of that and making sure that I personally keep up on that information so that we don't get sideways. We don't go down a path that can get us in trouble. And also from a legal standpoint, that's also one of my strengths is on the legal side of reporting requirements. I'm a strong advocate for staying on task there and staying knowledgeable. When there's classes available, those types of things, when there's been changes that have happened, I sign up for those things because I want to stay up on what's necessary. So I do take it extremely seriously. And in fact, one of the things that There are some changes I'd like to see as a result of my work on the Finance Committee, as far as being able to project to the community exactly where we are on budgets. I think we should be able to show the community we have a clear budget for every project we take on, and what that budget is, where we are at any point in time against spending against that budget. So there's no surprises. If we go over, why did we go over? What's the reason for it? If we came in under budget, great. You know, what did we do right that allowed us to be better than what we were expecting? So I'm a strong advocate of budgets on a project by project basis as well. Okay.
Great, thank you. All right, Danny. As a public hospital district commissioner, fiduciary responsibilities include the duties of care, loyalty, transparency, and ethical stewardship. How would you approach upholding these responsibilities, and how would they guide your decision-making on behalf of the district and the community?
So I have a strong ethical bone. The work I did for the both hospital districts was being the ultimate responsibility, the caretaker of the physical environment, and that's a huge undertaking to take on, because everybody that comes to that healthcare district has to walk into the environment that you've helped maintain and keep safe for every individual coming into that space. And there was always an opportunity to cut corners when you felt like it was an insurmountable issue that was happening on site, but we always stayed ethical and true and transparent to what the needs were, to make sure that our physical environment was cared for and everything was met with integrity and met regulations as required. I believe that following established governance processes is really important. As a board, I feel like the board should be able to come together and follow protocol and guide the district through those elements, and also conflicts of interest. If there was ever a situation that found myself or anyone else in conflict, that I would recuse myself, or I would find a way to communicate that to those on the board if there was something ethically or just conflicting, that we needed to stand up and do the right thing and recuse ourselves from a vote or anything like that, to make sure that we were caring for the district as a whole.
Great, thank you, Danny. All right, our next question for you is, sorry, I gotta find my spot. I almost lost it. How do you distinguish between governance and day-to-day operations, and how do you see the role of the commissioner interacting with those two?
It's a good question. There's a huge difference between governance and operations, and I believe governance is helping guide and direct the direction of the district, and alignment with the needs of the community as well as the staff, helping align those goals, versus engaging the day-to-day operations on the processes or the how to make those things happen. I believe that truly belongs in the hands of the staff, and that should be something that they perform, because it's a moving target. Also in operations, you could be choosing a plan one day and it may not be meeting the needs of the district, and you need to pivot from that. That's the role of our teams at SVH. The governance of the board is to help ensure that we are fiscally responsible in meeting the needs of our community.
Thanks, Danny. All right, Robert, same question for you. How do you distinguish between governance and operations, and how do you see your role as a commissioner interfacing between those two?
Well, to me, when I look at governance are, if I look at guardrails, you know, we have certain things that we can't do. We have to stay within the guardrails, and that's governance. So we have legal obligations, we have restrictions that are put on us by the state, restrictions that may be put on by other governing organizations. And those things we can't go beyond. We can't violate. We have to stay within those guidelines. And when operations, that's how do we operate within those guidelines and provide service and value to the community? And so the operational side, you're always mindful of the governance and what you can and can't do, and how do we stay in compliance. But we need to operate in a way that still provides value. So it's sort of like we have the guardrails, and then we have how do we conduct ourselves on a day-to-day basis to make sure, you know, we're moving forward as an organization, we're doing what's right for the community, or we're being transparent, and we're providing value. You know, and that's the whole bottom line here is how do we continue to provide value to the residents in our drain area or our catch basin area that come in and use the hospital. So, you know, what services are we going to offer? You know, what's in demand? What's not being serviced in this area? So those are all operational types of decisions we have to make. And then once you make those decisions, you have to look at, well, from a governance standpoint, how can we deliver this and stay in compliance with all the rules and regulations that we need to be compliant with? So as a commissioner, that's something that it would always be front of mind. Any decision I make, it's second nature to think about that decision in reference to compliance. So there are so many things that we have to comply to, and we have to stay up on as commissioners. It forms the decision-making process, and it forms how we make those operational decisions.
All right, thank you. Okay, next question. Explain why you consider yourself collaborative and a good listener while working in a committee.
Do I go first?
Yes, you do. I'm sorry.
Well, I think in working in a committee, I think it's, you know, one of my philosophies in business has always been lead from example and listen to others. In business, one of the ways I've become successful and the way I've governed my life in business is I always surround myself with people that are bright, very, very bright, the best of the best, and I listen to them. It doesn't, I mean, you can't know everything. That's impossible, but you can, if you have an instinct on hiring the best and the brightest, or bringing the best and the brightest into a meeting, if you want to solve a problem, when picking those people, you know, that should be in that meeting to help you make a decision, you look for who are the domain experts, who are the people that really, really understand this, hopefully better than I understand it. And you bring them into a meeting and you listen. You know, you ask questions, probing questions that will get them to open up, that will get them to really be collaborative in helping you solve problems. And you listen. And I've always looked at my role as I'm the implementer of what the group decides. So when the group comes to a consensus and they say, this is the best direction that we should take to fix this situation or solve this problem or provide this new service, then it's my job to implement what that group has come up with, not to change it, but to implement it and support those who are doing the implementation. So that's kind of the way I operate in business.
Great, thank you. All right, Danny, same question for you. Explain why you consider yourself collaborative and a good listener while working in a committee.
It's a good question. As I was listening to Robert, he had some great points, but humility is the biggest word for me to describe myself within that arena. As a part of a committee, you need to have humility. You need to be able to turn off pride and the need to be right, and being able, and that opens your opportunity to listen. And so if you can engage your peers on that board and allow yourself to be taken out of the group in a way that shows humility, I think that's the best way to buy wins. That's the best way to buy trust, is to make sure that your peers know that you care for them, you care about their opinions and their understanding of whatever the discussion might be, and that you're going to handle it in a careful and thoughtful way.
Great, thank you. All right, I have one final question for both of you, and then we will open it up to the commissioners if there are any additional questions that they would like to ask. So I'm giving them a minute to think about that. When we get to the end, commissioners, we'll just have you raise your hand and then we'll call on you individually. All right, Danny, for the final question from me, what else is very important for us to know about you? What else do you want us to know about Danny Scott?
Geez. That's a hard one because a lot of you know me. And so I think the biggest thing I'd want you to know and understand is my heart. My heart is to serve. I've always described myself as a servant leader. And I think being able to exemplify that in a new way on this board would be an amazing opportunity for me. It would be an amazing opportunity to share that part of me in a different way.
Great, thank you so much. All right, Robert, same question for you. What else is really important for us to know about you? What else would you like to tell us?
Well, I guess the thing that I would bring out about myself is I get very passionate about issues. I look for ways to really help the community. And a good example of that is my recent work I'm doing with the opioid crisis. That was a project that had no traction anywhere in the state. The state was doing no education of the people who were dying from opioid overdoses. I saw the issue. I saw how bad it was. We were experiencing this at the fire department, at the hospital. People, were dying from this crisis. And so I took it upon myself to create a whole education program and basically as a volunteer took it out and started educating the public. And I probably trained it's at least 2,000, maybe 2,500 people. I speak at the high schools twice a year at the health classes. And these are the target people that we really need to keep safe in our community. When I get passionate about something, I don't stop. I take it to the extreme and I just dedicate as much free time as I have to making something work like that. And I did that during COVID and now I'm doing this during the opioid crisis. So at the hospital side, I can tell you one of my personal passions was to change the feeling in the community about the hospital. People in the community had a bad taste in their mouth from years past. Some of the experiences they received in the ER with some of the providers that were in the ER at that time. And I think Renee has done, and the rest of the team has done a phenomenal job with turning that around. And, my job in the fire service, as I see it, is I'm in contact with patients all the time doing transports. And that's my time one-on-one to talk to them about the hospital and the services there now and how much different it was from their experience 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and to convince them to give it another try. And so hopefully as we're driving up the parkway, we can divert and go to Snoqualmie Valley Hospital's ER. And I think we've been really successful in doing that. And I see more and more people that I come into contact with now that are getting their services through the clinics and through urgent care and through the hospital in general, much more so than we saw in the past. So that's something that I took on a few years back. And it was also changing the mindset of the fire service too, because we had people in the fire service that said, oh, you don't take anybody to that hospital, bypass that and go to Swedish. And that mindset has changed now. And we see that in the numbers and the amount of transports. They're definitely going to the ER on a much more frequent basis now and getting back in service and providing more service to the community. So those are the types of things that I get passionate about.
Great, thank you so much. All right, commissioners, we have a few more minutes. If you would like to ask any questions that we haven't covered, just raise your hand and
Ladies? Yeah, excuse me, and Mark, I apologize.
I see Commissioner Carter is off mute. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, sure. With all sensitivity to privacy and such, do you have any experience yourselves or with friends and family receiving care at the hospital? And how's your experience been?
And Robert, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure, sure. Personally, I haven't had experience at the hospital. Close family members have, and it's been great. I think rehab center is one of the best in the area. I don't know of a rehab hospital I would recommend anybody go to, and certainly when I had the opportunity to need it, a family member went there for rehab. I think it's unmatched in the Valley and in East King County. That's my personal experience. I've talked to other people who I've taken to the hospital from an emergency room standpoint and asked them how their experience was later, and rave reviews. I mean, everybody's coming away very positive.
Great, thank you, Robert. Danny, same question.
I have experienced great care for myself and my family at the hospital. One of my first experiences with my son. We first moved to the district, and the skate park took a toll on him, and we had to get him to urgent care. We had to get him scanned as well at the hospital, and just that initial experience really set the tone for the type of community and the type of hospital I was becoming a part of. So that was incredible, and the type of care that I've received has helped me recruit patients from outside of our district. I have a friend driving from Renton and has established care at the hospital because of the type of care that we give. And so I want to continue that type of advocacy and that type of support of the district.
Great, thank you, Danny. Thank you,
Thanks.
Commissioner Carter. Commissioner Haugley, do you have a question?
I do, thank you. My
Yeah.
question would be, gentlemen, with time being one of our most valuable assets, how will you prioritize the time required to add value and governance with the board members and the hospital leadership team?
Danny, your turn to go first on this one.
You got it. I figured it was coming. What I did was I went to my new organization. I spoke with the leadership, shared with them the opportunity for me to serve in my home healthcare district, and they were huge fans of it. And so I have complete buy-in from my new company to make sure that I am available to this role in all facets. So that will not be a conflict. So I went to that right away to make sure that I could give the best of myself to this district.
Great, thank you, Danny. Robert, same question.
Good question. So one of the things that's taken up a lot of my time right now is the opioid program that I'm doing through a grant for the state of Washington. And as of a meeting I had this afternoon, I pretty much have that winding down. And I'm hopeful that by the middle of June, I'll have transferred all of that information and knowledge and have, it's basically a train the trainer type of situation. And so I'll have law enforcement and other fire stations up and going and delivering the same content I've delivered throughout East King County. So that'll free up a bunch of my time. So basically I'll terminate that grant after that process in the middle of June. And then I can dedicate a whole bunch of energy and time to the hospital as a commissioner, getting involved in special projects and anything else they want me to do. And I look forward to that.
Great, thank you, Robert. Commissioner Herron, I see you're off mute. Do you have an additional question you would like to ask?
Yes, we all have controversies in life and conflicts. How do you handle or manage those without resulting in a negative outcome?
Robert, your turn to go first on that one.
Well, I'm a strong believer if there's a conflict, and the first thing I do is go to the person and make myself as vulnerable as possible and just say, help me understand what's going on here. What am I doing that's creating this conflict? What can I change? and start that conversation. I don't assume anybody else is wrong. I assume I must be doing something wrong. And I felt that that's the best way to approach people, so they'll open up and we can have an open and honest discussion. And then we can come to some resolution. How can we make changes so that this conflict doesn't continue on, or we can resolve this conflict? But I never assume in any situation like that the other person is wrong. Make that assumption that I'm doing something wrong and I need to fix it. But before I can fix it, I need to understand what it is. And that tends to be a method that people open up to, and they'll share their feelings.
Great. Thank you, Robert. All right, Danny, same question.
Sure. I really believe that a lot of conflict that happens is through communication. There's usually a breakdown in communication that happens. So I prefer to create the environment that allows humility and openness in an environment that doesn't feel like there's an attack happening, that there's an opportunity to understand and really seeking to understand what the other individuals are trying to portray. A lot of passion comes in a role like this. We are very passionate about our family and our friends and the healthcare that is provided. And so being able to be sensitive to that fact and approach in a communication style that is suited for the person that you're communicating with. We all do it differently. So learning the individual that you're communicating with and having conflict with to bring it to resolution.
Great. Thank you, Danny. Commissioner Bowers, would you like to offer an additional question?
Yes, ma'am. Candidates, thank you both for being here tonight and spending the time with us. We sure appreciate that, and it's a pleasure to get to know you both. I look forward to working with either and both of you. One of the mantras of Snoqualmie Valley Health, I used to live in Skagit Valley. Snoqualmie Valley Health is living boldly. And that's been demonstrated quite clearly in the new building, plus the hub, and in the North Bend Clinic. How would you see your role as a commissioner in terms of potential expansion throughout the valley?
Danny, you get to go first this time.
Okay. Living boldly, I believe my first step was this opportunity. This is something that isn't usually something that I chase after. It's not, I don't usually prefer to be out in front. I don't usually prefer to, be on camera. So doing something like this was absolutely a bold step for me, but this organization's been developing that in me, and I have been recruiting visitors and patients in our community to look into our district, to look into our services, to be excited about what we're building here on the Ridge. And there's excitement brewing. And I have a community built around me that's excited to partake as soon as that building opens. And so I hope to continue those efforts. And I've been doing it through an organization that I've been leading over the last few years, Washington State Society for Healthcare Engineering. I was state president last year, and I've been leading that group with a lot of advocacy for our district. I brought a lot of publicity to that group, which is all of the healthcare facilities, personnel, as well as those industry partners that help keep the physical environment moving. So there's a lot of people that are looking at what we're doing here at Snoqualmie, and I'm just looking forward to promoting it in a new way.
Thank you, Danny. Robert, same question to you.
Well, I look at that as I'm an ambassador for the hospital. As a commissioner, my job is to be out there in the public, talking about the benefits of the hospital, what it's going to offer the community, what it's offering the community today. And that means I have to educate myself as much as possible on what those services are. So when people start asking me questions, well, can they do this? Can I run this test? Can they take care of this medical condition? I have that answer. So I want to be out there in front of as many people as possible, being that ambassador for the hospital. And I think I've demonstrated that in my time on the finance committee, as well as some of the other initiatives I've taken off, not the finance committee, but what I've done specifically for calcium scoring for the testing, getting some of our cardiologists at the hospital where I work to recommend patients to come here now instead of going to Bellevue Imaging. I'm still waiting for an answer back from Patrick on echo stress test on that email that I sent you, so I can meet with our cardiologist and ask them to consider sending patients this way when they can't get patients in at Swedish for 4 to 6 months. So I'm always looking for ways to get more business into the hospital, get more patients involved. My belief is once you have a touch point, once you've made a touch point anywhere in the Snoqualmie Valley system, your experience will be so positive that you'll want more touch points. You'll want to do more as a patient with this hospital for a variety of reasons, whether it means I can get in quicker, I can make an appointment with a specialist and I don't have to wait 4 months, 6 months as you do at other places. They're caring people, they're kind people, they're responsive people. I mean, these are all the things that I see on a regular basis that patients tell me that they're experiencing from the staff at Snoqualmie Valley Hospital. So I like to echo those things back. And when I talk to new people and just get the word out and share those experiences with others so we can embolden people to start changing. And I think one of the great things that we've had happen here recently, and it's going to continue to happen, is as you offer more and more specialty services, people can begin to change their care and make Snoqualmie Valley Hospital their primary facility for care. As we get older, we need a lot of specialists and specialties. And in the past, we hadn't had that at Snoqualmie Valley Hospital. We do now, and we're gaining even more. So it becomes much more realistic for somebody to say, this is going to be my primary hospital because I know I can get all the care I need as I age and moving forward my life.
Renee,
Yes, sir.
I have one quick question.
Okay, we have just a couple of minutes, so
Yep.
go ahead.
I'm looking for a 60-second response. Gentlemen, if you were selected to serve on the board with the rest of the board, and if things weren't going your way, how would you respond?
And Robert, it's your turn to go first. You get 1 minute.
Well, it's my job to be able to sit down with any board member who I might have a difference of opinion with and understand where they're coming from. And that comes back to that learning experience. I don't have all the answers. I don't, know everything. And I want to know what you know. Why do you feel the way you do? What am I missing? Enlighten me so I can change my opinion, or maybe I can reshape my view. Everybody has value. Everybody has, an opinion on something, and there's a reason they have that opinion. And I want to know what that is so I can benefit from it. And in that process, we can probably find some common ground.
Thank you, Robert. All right, Danny, 1 minute to answer the same question.
Sure, I'll keep it brief. I would, in those situations, I really look to try to reframe the issue that is being had, try to bring additional data if that's needed for the situation, or help identify a way to compromise, find options that would bring compromise to the issue at hand. But it usually boils down to the way that we're communicating. But if it's passion that is involved and it's based on certain data points, compromise is usually the right place to find it. And that's the only way to go. You can't go into a situation like that trying to win.
Great. Thank you both
Thank you.
so much. I just want to say that we win tonight, that it is so amazing to have fantastic candidates like the both of you. And I appreciate your boldness for coming and doing this interview. And don't worry, you don't get off easy. If one of you isn't selected, the other is going to join us on a committee and be part of this district. You aren't going anywhere. So thank you so much for your commitment. So at this time, Commissioner Howley, the commissioners and executive team will move to executive session. Jen will put us into a room. We plan to be in executive session for approximately 10 minutes, and we do not anticipate any business other than that. We will return and adjourn to our regular session, our next board meeting at 5:55. And Skip, would you like to state the RCW there? Go for it. Oh, you're on mute. You're still muted, Skip. It's okay. We
Thank
can
you,
read your
gentlemen.
lips, though. We're good.
That's all right. I think you're available to go into an executive session under RCW 4230.110H to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment to an elective office. And therefore, you are allowed to go into executive session for that purpose, having held these meetings and these interviews in an open public meeting. So we'll adjourn now to an executive session for approximately 10 minutes. If it takes longer than that, we'll inform the public.
Okay, thank you.
Do we
Skip.
leave? Do we exit from here or stay?
Jennifer is going to put you into a room. If you
Okay.
hang tight, she'll put you in the breakout room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Jen, can you close the room, please? Jen, are you able to hear me? Can you close the rooms? Can you close the room? Awesome, thank you. You see Emma, Jen, and Mark, and Kevin. I think everyone's here. All right. So commissioners, before we adjourn, Kevin will adjourn this special meeting, and you will need to sign out and click on the link for the regular board meeting, and then you will be signed into that board meeting. And Kevin, would you like to adjourn? And any other questions before the commissioners go? Okay, Commissioner Hoggle, you are on mute. All right, Skip, if there's no objections,
Yeah, I think you've come back into open session. There's
There we go.
there's Chairman Hadley.
Go ahead. We've adjourned at 5:57.
All right.